Welcome to the Box Score Sports Podcast.
Do it.
Okay, so me and Clint are going to do an exit interview for every single NBA team. And so what we're going to do is kind of look back at the season. We're going to grade them, talk about some of the pros and cons that maybe came out of the season, and we're going to talk about what they have to do moving forward. And we're going to do this with each and every single team. So our first NBA exit interview is going to be I have the Miami Heat down. You ready to talk about the Miami Heat? Um, Give me a grade. What would you grade their season, Clint?
A C.
Okay.
They on the plus side, Tyler Hero really made a jump. Probably more than I ever thought he would. On the downside, Bam Adebayo was still good. Didn't really kind of expand his game as much as you would hope. You watched over the Olympics, he was shooting the threes, and he did it for stretches of the season. But I feel like he kind of got stuck in the middle, and then the rest of the team, Terry Rozier missing in action, and they kind of floundered their way to the play and went out. So, a few positives, but overall, and when you look at their future, like probably just an average year.
Yeah, so C is a good one. We'll see how we are as teachers and how different we are in this. I kind of gave them a B minus because I compare. So how I did the grade was like what I expected them at the beginning of the year, kind of what they went through, and then how they ended their year. So I kind of factor all that in. I had them as a play-in team at the beginning of the year, and then they had the Jimmy Butler drama, and then they had to trade Jimmy Butler. You mentioned like the injury with Terry Rozier. And so they kind of got where I thought they would, and they got destroyed in the playoffs. That's what I thought would happen. So I guess maybe a C is average, or you could say like a C is like what you expected. If that's what we're going by, I'd be like, yeah, that's. But I think like a B to me is like, okay, if you got where I thought you were going to go, not no better, no worse. B minus, I just, I felt it was worse because there's some things. So you talked about a couple pros and cons. I have some too, like Tyler Hero is what you mentioned. What one is I agree with that. It seemed like he kind of found himself a little bit this season. I also think Khalil Ware kind of like he looks like a piece they might be able to build around or be a I don't want to say build around. He's not that good, but he can be a piece that can help build their team. I'm saying like he looks like someone he had 9.7 rebounds, 55% from the field and 31% from the field. And if he progressed out, those numbers will probably get better. My big con was actually Jaquez on the season. Um, he dropped from 28 minutes to 20 minutes a game. His field goal percentage dropped, his points per game dropped, and his like just the faith of Miami. He wasn't even playing in the playoffs. So I think he got a couple minutes, but for the most part, he hardly played. So like those, as far as the entire season go, I give B minus. Really disappointed in Hodges' play this season. I thought he would be better and get better from the last year, which he had kind of a breakout year his rookie year. So anyway, so that more any more thoughts on the Heat that as far as this season
Uh,
goes?
no, Hawkins was a good one too. I think if he can't shoot, then between Bam and Ware, there's not a lot of room to play the guy if he can't shoot because Ware already isn't going to shoot. So that's a really good one as far as he really kind of went from the darling of the Miami Heat found this guy to it's a playing game and they're like can't play
Can't trade him. Can't trade him. You can't trade him. And then the next year it's like, yeah, he's not playing for our team. Okay.
untouchable.
Untouchable. Okay, let's look at their off season. So, I have some, thanks to Bobby Mark, some of the like the off season stuff for every team. So right now, they have some free agents like Robinson can be a free agent, Burks, Mitchell, Smith, Stevens, Christopher, and Keldon Johnson. They still will have the starting five under contract the way they do now in Hero, Highsmith, Wiggins, Adebayo, and Ware. The resources they have for this offseason, they have one first round pick, three first round picks that are tradable. They have $60 million in expiring contracts and mid level. So that's what we're looking at as far as the Heat go. So where do you see them going this offseason, Clint?
See, I wrote around for them. Like you said, you go through their contracts with either player options, just having Rozier guys that they could dump. And I just kept thinking, are they going to push in, or are they just taking this as we're going to take next year to reset things by letting some of these guys expire, and then building around Bam and Hero, and still, Wiggins in 26, 27 as a $30 million player option, which I'm sure he's going to pick up. So you have that as a tradable contract too. So with Miami, you always have the threats, or at least the idea that they're going to go for it, that they're going to pull something off, which we can get to. But it seems unclear how they view their team, especially the way they played the end of the season. Do they view it as Bam and Hero are enough, or they're just a good starting block, but we need a lot to compete?
Yeah, that's a I mean good point because that's really the fork in the road they have because uh, Bam can be a good asset to trade, right? Like if they wanted to go that route and be like, let's retool a little bit. And I think Hero's kind of young enough where you could be like, well, we can keep him. Bam's a little bit older, I believe. And then you got Ware. So you could be like, let's do Ware and Hero and let Bam go and we could get a bunch of assets. They got the 20th overall pick in this year's draft as well. But I think that's what's going to be most interesting about their offseason and just seeing what direction and a lot of NBA teams, which we'll talk about as we do these exit interviews, have that option. While the Heat's another one of those teams that have that option. Which direction are they going to go?
For sure. And Bam would be, um, like a franchise altering decision. If you're trading Bam, you're probably pushing your timetable back 2 to 4 years, and seeing what you can do.
Yeah, and I'm not saying they should do that, but it is an option they have on the table. And but it's interesting because I think a lot of problems. I know that maybe you did some when you were like looking through these teams. It's like, well, they could do this and this, but the CBA is kind of like also have a lot of teams hand tied, and that's going to be interesting to work through. I think they screwed up the CBA in the worst way. The more I just like ponder over it, so um, rough stuff.
So it's funny you brought that up. I wrote a quick note. It takes like a minute. You're talking about the different aprons, and now I didn't do the math on all these teams when we go through each and every of these teams, but since we brought it up, to get hard capped at the first apron, which means you couldn't go over to 195.9 for next year.
Yep.
If you acquire a player in a sign and trade, you're hard capped. If you use part of your mid-level exception, biannual exception, hard capped. If you take on more salary than you send out in a trade, you're hard capped. If you use a trade exception, if you sign a player who's cut who makes more than the mid-level exception, you are then hard capped at the first apron, which means you can't go over for the rest of the year. So some of these teams would run into that. And the second apron is if you use the mini taxpayer mid-level, which is like 5 or 6 million aggregate salary, um, you're hard capped at the second apron, so you can't go over. So for Miami, you have less of that because they have a lot of expiring deals. But when we get to other these teams, that's the nerdy baseline of what you were talking about. Of some of these teams, you're like, oh yeah, just do a sign and trade. You're like, well, then you're hard capped at the first apron. And if you're the Warriors, which we're talking about sign and trades with Kuminga, 195.9 isn't going to cut it for their salary for next year.
Yeah, no, a lot of these teams are rough. I hope they like fix it. I don't know if they can or if they have to wait till the new CBA to I imagine if the Players Association, the owners agree, they could probably like cut it up and redo it. I don't know like the circumstance, but man, it's rough, dude. And the players kind of screwed themselves, I think, a little bit with this new CBA.
I would agree. And I think it'll be lessened because we're about to go up 20 million from 25, 26 to 26, 27. But still, if that goes up, salaries go up. So it's a give take.
Right, correct. Okay, let's do one long shot for the Miami Heat.
I wrote down two names for Miami. Zion, just because he would
Yeah,
probably
I
fit
have
the
him
team
down. Yeah.
culture. But the other one I put is if you're keeping Bam and you have the 3 first-round picks and you have the salary, do you put Lauri Markkanen next to Bam Adebayo?
Mm.
He's kind of the 4. You could give the Jazz a little bit what they want. I'm assuming they want picks and plenty of salary that they can just dump or move on from.
So as far as okay, and you'd probably have to put like Ware or someone like that in the trade, right? So yeah, like some young guy as well.
Or maybe the untradeable Jaime Jaquez, maybe.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, okay, I like it. Yeah, I had Zion down. Markkanen's a good one. I'd put Zion down just because there's only a handful of teams I think if Zion goes to, like they would take a shot on him that could maybe fix him, get him like in basketball shape type thing. Miami's one of those teams. So Zion Williamson, and depending, maybe he won't cost too much because his value isn't going to be as high as it should be because he can't stay healthy, so yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Every time they mention Zion, Miami's the first team that comes to mind.
Yeah, correct. Exactly. Okay, anything else on Miami before we move on?
I don't think so.
Thanks so much for watching this clip of the Box Score Sports Podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter or X. And we'll talk to you guys real soon. See ya.